I was setting up the living room for book club, arranging teacups beside a neat stack of my famous lemon bars, when a strange sound drifted down the hallway. It wasn't Philip's usual music or the muffled sound of gaming. This was softer, like fabric brushing against itself. I paused. His bedroom was just down the corridor in our little bungalow, and a mother always knows when something feels off. "Philip? Everything okay in there?" I called, walking toward his door. There was a tense pause. "Yeah, Mom. I'm fine," he answered quickly, too quickly. Without waiting for the usual protest about knocking, I pushed the door open. And froze. Philip stood in front of his mirror wearing my teal dress. It hung awkwardly on him, too long at the hem, too tight at the shoulders, but that wasn't what stunned me. It was his expression. He looked calm, peaceful, like he'd found something he'd been searching for. "Philip," I gasped. He spun around, eyes wide with panic, fumbling at the zipper. "I didn't think you'd see. What on earth are you doing?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. His cheeks burned red. His hands trembled. Before he could answer, the doorbell rang. "Of course. My book club. Change. Now," I whispered urgently. "We'll talk later." But fate had other plans. The front door opened before I reached it. Laura walked in first, bright as ever, carrying her usual stack of novels. "Hello, Rihanna," she sang. "Hope we're not early." The others followed in a wave of perfume, laughter, and chatter. And then they saw him. Philip stood frozen in the hallway, still wearing the dress. There was a split second of silence. Then Laura grinned. "Oh my, Rihanna. Is this our newest member? I must say, bold-fashioned choice." Heat flooded my face. "No. Oh, this is my son. It's a school costume." Philip darted back to his room, mortified. The ladies exchanged curious looks, but we settled into our seats. Or at least we tried to. The hallway seemed to hum with unspoken questions. Finally, Laura leaned forward. "You know, that dress did suit him." A few of the others nodded. "He looked happy," Susan added gently. Happy. The word hit harder than their teasing ever could. Before I knew what I was doing, I called out, "Philip? Honey, would you come out here?" There was a long pause. Then the bedroom door creaked open. He stepped into the living room again, still in the dress, now with a blonde wig perched carefully on his head. His eyes searched mine, full of fear and hope. Laura smiled warmly. "You look lovely." Margaret chimed in. "That color really suits you." The tension in the room shifted. There was no mockery. No cruelty. Just curiosity and surprising kindness. Philip hesitated, then slowly sat down among them. I watched, emotions tangling inside me. Bigger. Confusion. But beneath it all, something softer. Pride. The women began chatting with him as if this were the most natural thing in the world. "How do you feel in it?" Susan asked kindly. Philip glanced at me before answering. "I feel pretty," he said quietly. "I feel like myself." The room fell silent again, but this time it felt different. I swallowed hard. "This isn't what I imagined for you," I admitted softly. "I just don't understand." Margaret reached across the table. "Rihanna, clothes are just fabric. What matters is how he feels wearing them." Laura added gently, "He's figuring himself out. Wouldn't you rather he do that with your support?" I looked at my son. He wasn't hiding anymore. He wasn't ashamed. He looked lighter. My anger had never really been about the dress. It was fear. Fear of what people would say. Fear of what this meant. Fear of losing the version of my child I thought I knew. But sitting there, surrounded by unexpected compassion, I realized something. I wasn't losing him. He was letting me see him. I took a slow breath. "All right," I said quietly. "If we're doing this, we might as well do it properly." The ladies perked up. Laura clapped her hands. "Makeover session?" Philip's nervous smile widened. For the first time that evening, I smiled back. "Let's start with the hem," I said. "That dress definitely needs tailoring." And just like that, book club turned into something entirely different. Not just a discussion of stories on paper, but the beginning of understanding the one unfolding in my own home. The mood in the living room shifted completely. Instead of awkwardness, there was excitement. The ladies leaned forward, tossing out ideas like stylists backstage at a fashion show. "Oh, jewel tones would look gorgeous on you." No soft pastels, they'd highlight your features. And skirts with movement. You need something you can twirl in. Philip, still sitting carefully in my teal dress, listened with wide eyes as advice came from every direction. Their enthusiasm was contagious. Slowly, without even realizing it, I found myself nodding along. Maybe this wasn't a disaster. Maybe this was discovery. Suddenly, Susan snapped her fingers dramatically. Every transformation needs a name. The room went quiet. A beautiful name, she continued, smiling warmly. One that fits this beautiful young lady. Philip stiffened slightly and glanced at me for reassurance. I gave him a small, encouraging smile. What do you think? I asked gently. Would you like a different name when you're dressed like this? He hesitated only a moment before nodding. I think I would. Margaret tilted her head thoughtfully. What about Philippa? It's close enough to Philip that it won't feel strange, but different enough to be special. The effect was instant. His face brightened. I like it, he whispered. Philippa. The ladies cheered softly, clapping their hands as though a christening had just taken place. And to my own surprise, I smiled. Philippa it is, I said, squeezing her hand. From that moment on, they spoke to her as if she had always belonged there. No hesitation. No awkward pauses. Just inclusion. And Philippa, my child, blossomed. She joined their debate about the novel, offered opinions, laughed at Laura's terrible puns. The nervous tension melted from her shoulders. I hadn't seen her this alive in months. As the afternoon faded and the meeting wrapped up, each woman made sure to say goodbye personally. It was lovely meeting you, Philippa, Laura said, hugging her warmly. You brought such a thoughtful perspective, Margaret added. Susan, always steady and wise, smiled softly. Remember, you have support here. When the last of them left, the house grew quiet again. Philippa stood there in my dress, looking lighter somehow. I studied her. The anger I'd felt earlier seemed distant now, replaced by something far more complicated. Pride, fear, love, acceptance. Well, I said slowly, I think that dress belongs to you now. Her eyes widened. What? It suits you, I admitted. And I can't deny how happy it makes you. Really, Mom? Her voice trembled with hope. Yes. It's yours. She rushed forward and hugged me tightly. Thank you, she whispered. After a moment I pulled back slightly. How long have you been feeling this way? She looked down, fingers playing with the hem of the dress. For a while, she confessed. I've always felt more comfortable like this. I just didn't know how to tell you. I exhaled softly. I wish you had, I said, taking her hands. But I understand why you were scared. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like you couldn't come to me. Tears shimmered in her eyes. It means everything that you're trying. I pulled her into another hug, feeling something settle inside me, not certainty but peace. Then we'll figure it out together, I said. Starting with something simple. She blinked. Like what? I smiled. Makeup. Her jaw dropped. You teach me. Of course. We went to my bedroom and I opened my vanity drawer. Foundations, blushes, lipsticks, tools I'd used for years without much thought, now felt like bridges between us. Start light, I instructed gently, showing her how to blend foundation evenly. She concentrated hard, tongue peeking slightly between her lips. Perfect, I encouraged, handing her mascara. When she finally turned to the mirror after applying a soft lipstick shade, her breath caught. I look pretty. I stepped beside her and met her reflection. You look beautiful, I corrected softly. And I meant it. Soon we were pulling clothes from my closet. Dresses I hadn't worn in years, blouses tucked away in the back, skirts that still held old memories. She tried them on one after another, twirling shyly at first, then boldly. Confidence grew with each spin. This one, I said, handing her a floral dress. It's lighter. Easier. She slipped into it and turned toward me, glowing. It feels right. It shows, I replied. Then came the practical lessons. Posture matters, I explained, demonstrating how to stand tall with relaxed shoulders. He copied me, wobbling at first, then steadying. Walk like you belong anywhere you step, I added. We practiced gestures, sitting gracefully, even light conversation. But between every tip I reminded her. This isn't about pretending. It's about being comfortable. She nodded earnestly. I feel like I can breathe, she admitted. That night, as she stood once more in front of the mirror, no longer just Philip trying something forbidden, but Philippa discovering herself, I realized something profound. I hadn't lost my child. I had simply met another part of her. And this time she wasn't hiding.